Hi, today I want to talk to you about the journey to AGI. Have we reached or are we on the path to reaching AGI or not? We're going to start off where we are with GPT and how does that mimic human intelligence. So let's start off by defining what AGI is. AGI is artificial general intelligence, which means that machines can mimic the whole general intelligence of human beings. Having said that, the definition itself is generic and people perceive it in different ways. But today we're going to look at how we're reaching that, or where are we from reaching that ultimate goal. So let's start off by where we are with GPT and how is it being used today. So first, the generative AI, which is the most common use case that we've been using it for, which is giving it a prompt or an input and it's able to create content, whether that content is a joke, uh, an email, or something different, is still that same concept of giving it input and it generating output. The second type is synthesis, which is all about collecting information and generating insights from that information. So it might be that ability for it to search online, get results, and then from these results, bring insights or bring information that is useful to the user based on their question. It might be from searching online, or it might be from your own database or your own knowledge. And thirdly, autonomy, or having that autonomous GPT. And this is where things like baby AGI and auto GPT come into play, where you give it a specific objective that you want it to achieve or a specific goal you want it to achieve, and it can start spawning off tasks to achieve that goal. So it thinks how that goal can be achieved and then start creating a set of tasks. And through an iterative process, just like human beings think, it's able to accomplish these tasks and hence accomplish that ultimate goal that you've given it at the start. We're going to look at each of these with the pros and cons for each. So starting off with generative AI. So as we said, the whole idea of generative AI is you give an input prompt, it creates information from that prompt. And we all have seen the problems with that. First, the bias, inaccuracy, and outdated content. The bias is all about that because it's learned from such a large amount of data. If that data is biased in any way, shape, or form, its results are also going to be biased. Inaccuracy. It has that tendency to hallucinate. And when it hallucinates, it makes up things that might not be factually correct at all, and hence inaccurate. And thirdly, some things are outdated because its learning has stopped in September 2021, so it doesn't know anything post that time. Let's see that in a real demo. So here I'm going to ask it, tell me a story about a doctor and nurse. And because humans have always perceived doctors as male and nurses as female, it will always do the same thing. It will always have that bias that men work as doctors and women work as nurses. Another thing here, who is the CEO of Twitter? We all know right now it's Elon Musk, but because it doesn't have any information after September 2021, it assumes it's still Jack Dorsey. Having said these problems, there's still a lot of use cases where you can use generative AI, such as creating copy, correcting grammar, translating, all things around linguistics, and outlining data through creativity that are not date specific, that are more evergreen. It can do pretty well. But again, with that review from your end, because to make sure it's factually correct as well. Now let's take real world use cases. So, for example, if I want to generate high volumes of cold outbound emails, it's a great tool to do that. If I want to create ad copy, it can do that really well. If I want to generate updates on product releases based on giving it input and it's summarizing it in a way that it's general updates, it can do that really well. Generate the product specs for me, draft legal documents, it can do all that really well. Synthesis is all about collecting information and generating insights from it. So you can think of synthesis as the ability for it to start collecting external data or external information and then synthesizing it to come up with insights about that data. Again, this, because it's controlled, you're actually giving it the input. It becomes more factual, it becomes more controlled to what you want it to be able to answer, and it can be up to date if you give it up to date data. And let's see how these same real world use cases, how we can utilize them differently with synthesis. So instead of generating high volumes of outbound calls only or outbound emails, it can identify which prospects to send emails to by researching relevant reports and making it personalized. Instead of just generating generic ad copy, it can inform which email campaign a customer should be or should get based on their product usage. Because it now has, for both these, it now has information from the CRM or from the customer data platform. So it's able to give you more intelligent experience or more personalized experience for your customers. Instead of just generating updates on product release, it can understand most important features for a specific customer success manager or a specific customer and then highlight them for the next QBR with that customer. It can evaluate trade offs between competing features and requests by summarizing options. So it can take input from your feature request platform. It can look at your competitors and what are they doing, and then come up with your feature plan or your product backlog. Instead of just drafting legal documents, it can summarize the most important issues in contracts, either that it itself generated or you generated for it. Now, when we think about the synthesis approach, we need something more than GPT because GPT just takes a prompt. And this is where things like chaining come in, and LangChain is a great example of that. With LangChain, you're creating a chain of things to happen. Think of it as a workflow or a set of steps that need to happen. So the user asks the question. Instead of just going and giving that question to GPT, you first pass it through your database or your memory and database to get the answer from there or to get the context from there, to get the information from there. Then you give that information to GPT to generate that insights from that data. Lang chains can be much more complex. So instead of just giving it a memory or a database, you can give it a set of tools and tell it to choose which tools would help achieve that ask or that question that it has. So what it does in this scenario is it takes that prompt or that question that the user is asking and then ask GPT from the set of tools that I have now, which ones would most fit to answer that question. And based on that, it's able to use these tools to find answers. And it doesn't necessarily have to be sequential, as I'm showing here. It can also be where a specific tool's output can be an input to the second tool. And hence, it's able to continuously go through these tools to answer the question and then pass it to GPT. And let's see a demo of that as well. So here I said I want to make chocolate chip cookies. First thing, it starts giving me the ingredients of chocolate chip cookies and instructions. But because it knows it has Instacart at its disposal, it's able to utilize that as well. So it's asking me, would you like me to add that to your shopping list? And if I say yes, please, it talks to Instacart to add that to the shopping list using the Instacart APIs. So this is where that tooling comes in, where you can utilize tools to do much, much more and make synthesis much more useful. Now, the third type, which is autonomous, and it's all based on a concept called task driven autonomous agents. And I have links to a lot of this information from Synthesis AI and the paper and articles around it, as well as task driven autonomous agents and how baby AGI was created, how AutoGPT works, and so on. But let's first talk about the concept of it. So, the first thing here is the ask. The user asks or provides an objective and a task to the system. The system then adds that to a queue. It adds the set of tasks to a queue. It tries to complete these tasks through an execution agent, which is GPT-4. As it's answering these questions or responding to these tasks, ultimately, as GPT is responding to these tasks, it can store the task result pair in memory. and it can query the memory when it needs to. And this is really important because this is the idea of how a tool can use the result of another tool, or a task can use the result of another task to action. So it's able to take that memory context and reuse it when it needs to. And then it sends the task result to task creation agent, again, a GPT-4, that now that you have this particular answer, what should you do next? So it can either say, I'm done, or it can generate new tasks based on the outcome or that result. And again, it goes here to that task prioritization to prioritize the upcoming tasks. And it continues through that loop to try to find or try to achieve that objective that we've set forth at the start. Now let's see a demo of that. And here I'm going to actually ask it a YouTube creator. So I want it to be able to create a YouTube channel, or help me create my YouTube channel and help me increase the number of views to that YouTube channel. And you'll see what it starts doing is it starts creating this plan by creating a set of tasks for itself. And these tasks are what it's trying to solve for. And it continues on until it solves the problem, or it gives me the recommendation. So you'll see here, it's going to continue kind of going through one by one to try to solve the answer. And as it goes through that, it's going through a step-by-step process where it's feeding back the results to start answering more. Now I'm going to go to my next video. Again, another sample here where I tell it that it needs to create front-end code. I wanted to create a card in HTML. And you'll see that it actually failed at the end, but it continued trying by researching how these accessible cards should be created. So, so where are we, and where is the future of AGI ultimately? Where are we from AGI? And before I answer that, I'd like to show you this clip from Sam Altman's interview with Friedman and what his response was.
Spoken with Noam Chomsky, who's been kind of one of the many people that are critical of large language models being able to achieve general intelligence, right? And so it's an interesting question that they've been able to achieve so much incredible stuff. Do you think it's possible that large language models really is the way we build AGI?
I think it's part of the way. I think we need other super important things.
This is philosophizing a little bit. Like what kind of components do you think, in a technical sense or a poetic sense, does it need to have a body that it can experience the world directly?
I don't think it needs that. But I wouldn't say any of this stuff with certainty, like we're deep into the unknown here. For me, a system that cannot go significantly add to the sum total of scientific knowledge we have access to, kind of discover, invent, whatever you want to call it, new fundamental science, is not a super intelligence. And to do that really well, I think we will need to expand on the GPT paradigm in pretty important ways that we're
So you'll see from what Sam's saying here is that GPT is still not there, because one important aspect of human intelligence is that ability to invent something new, to create something out of nothing. And that's something GPT is not built for. Maybe it can be part of the roadmap to AGI, but there are missing components to achieve that AGI concept. However, with things like AutoGPT and Baby AGI, we're starting to see the idea of things that we've thought as human-specific intelligence not really be only specific to humans. So things like AutoGPT are now able to think or mimic the way humans think by breaking down a problem into tasks and then acting on these tasks in an iterative way, which is exactly how humans think. Now, is it able to invent something new? No, it's not. It's only based on what the human collective knowledge is. So that will change the way we do work in any work setting. whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a developer, whether any role, instead of spending so much time doing research, this co-pilot or this agent can be your sidekick that can help you by doing that research for you. And your main goal is going to be to ideate, to invent, to come up with the new novel ideas. Because whatever has been done before, it can do it much, much quicker than you can. It can think through it and deduce it much better than you can, or much faster at least. So that's where human intelligence and the way we do work really is going to change substantially, I see, in the near future and in long term as well. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe to my channel to learn more about it. And if you have any comments, feel free to send them to me, add them on the channel. And of course, if you like this video, please like, thumbs up, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.